Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I am titling this video today, Children and the Fourth Dimension, but this is actually a video for pretty much anybody, and I want to have this disclaimer ahead of time before I get started, because what I want to talk about today is really, it pertains to pretty much everybody, all of us, and I'm going to go into kind of how we are indoctrinated and how we are manipulated from the time we are in the womb, and throughout our life, and really how that is affecting children today, but how it affects us as adults, even elderly, even those that have crossed over already, and how the fourth dimension plays into all of that. So whether or not you are a parent or have children or grandchildren, I think this is relevant for everybody. And if you are open and interested in hearing some of the things that I have to say today that involve how we got to where we are now and the fourth dimensional players and how that all comes together, and how it's affecting children of today. Whether you have children or not, it does affect our future and where we are going. So this video really is for everyone, but I am titling it Children in the Fourth Dimension because I will focus on a lot of it on our children and where we are today and where we are going, but it is relevant for everyone. So if this is something that you're interested in, then I recommend that you that you stay tuned in. Okay. So I have started writing things down for myself because I'm getting older and I cannot remember anything. So let's talk about how we got here to begin with. How our souls, first of all, and some of the things that I'm saying today might be a repeat, but I feel necessary sometimes to repeat myself to really explain things in a more impactful way. So our souls have a signature, just like our fingers have a blueprint. Our souls have a spiritual signature, a spiritual significant DNA that separates us from other souls. It's our individual marker point, our kind of a barcode, if you want to look at it in 3D terms. So when we come into this reality, there is a way for the powers that wish to be or were at one point, is how I like to say it, were able to kind of catalog and create a quantum database of who and why we are coming in and what it is that we're supposed to do. So a simple analogy that I came up with recently is this. Imagine if you have a home, and anytime someone comes in your home and they walk through the door, think about like an airport security x-ray machine thing. Think about that if you had one of those, and every time somebody walked through the door of your home, they were scanned. And on a screen next to your door would show them everything about who they are, kind of like a background check, the good, the bad, the everything. And then take that one step further, and let's say we do a cosmic background check. And so you see at where they're from, they're Lyran, they're Pleiadian, they're not from this universe, they're reptilian, they have an agenda, an auric scan. So pretty much any information you could ever want to know, not just about the individual, but as the soul itself. We had the ability to do something like that anytime someone came into our home. Now, imagine that on a bigger scale. So this 3D grid has something similar to that has been shown to me in so many different ways throughout my sessions over the years, where there is something similar. So when souls go through the birth portal or are born into this reality, they have to go through the etherical realm. And many of us descend in order to come here right now because we're starseeds. So we come from a higher dimension and volunteer to come into these lower dimensions. Those of us that have been in this 3D reality for many cycles, hundreds of years or more, thousands of years, you don't really need to go through the exact avenue to get in because you're already connected. So they already know who you are. But let's just say all of the starseed volunteers, those souls that are not necessarily connected to the 3D, that incarnate here as a volunteer of some sort, a light worker, a way shower, or have some sort of journey, important mission involved in their life, reason why they're coming to begin with. When they come through that etherical portal, essentially, and are birthed in the womb, and are even seated when they are conceived and throughout the whole time frame of the pregnancy of the mom, the gestation period, the powers that were and the quantum kind of guardians of this 3D already know who you are, where you came from, and what you're here to do. So what they do is they do a lot of things, and I've talked about this in many presentations. I can't say everything in this video, otherwise it would be way too long. So I'm trying to condense it down to make it relevant for right now. But they know who you are, they know what you're here to do, and so they will catalog you. They will put you in some sort of quantum style database, and they will keep track of you. So they're not automatically going to go after you. Yes and no. I mean, sometimes they'll try to prevent you from being born, and there are a lot of things that they can do. There's time traveling involved where they can go back in time and try to take out your parents. So there's so many things I can say, but I'm trying to keep this more straightforward because there's too many answers and explanations for too many things. But let's just keep it simple. So we come in and we get tagged. We get these etherical tags. I even talk about etherical viruses that sometimes children get when they're born, which is part of this tagging process, but it's like a low dimensional energy that almost puts a marker on them or a film. And a lot of our children, when they're born, they might get sick and almost die. A lot of that translates as a respiratory virus like RSV, things like that, where it's actually an etherical virus that attacks the baby once it's born, and the soul integrates with the body, that it suppresses the immune system. And then there are other things that amplify that, which I'm going to talk about. And so we are, in essence, watched and targeted throughout our whole lives, all of us. So this video, again, is not just about children. Everyone watching this is likely called to watch this video because you have been etherically tagged at some point in many incarnations, if this is not just your only lifetime here, because we are coming in here to activate, to awaken, to terraform, to grid, to anchor in our frequencies, to activate the DNA. The list is endless on what and why people come into this planet to do. They can't stop everybody, so it's kind of one of those watching systems. You know, if they could, they would just kind of get rid of all of us off the planets like bugs in their mind. But you know, because there are so many of us, they can't really do that. So they do other things to keep watch on over us throughout our lifetimes. And I'm going to go through some of those and explain it. So let's just start at birth. Now we know that people are targeted their whole life. So by the time someone gets pregnant, a couple gets pregnant, or a woman gets pregnant, in whatever mean she decides, we know that that person is likely already programmed, traumatized, or have intrinsic or quantum entanglement to the 3D, and they've got their own level of programming they're working through. Then they call upon a soul that's going to come through, and the conception occurs, and then the integration process with the soul actually starts before the conception even occurs. I talk about this in my books and many other videos, so I won't get into that too much. But the more galactic, the more cosmic, the more high density or high frequency the being is, the longer the integration period of the woman and the baby takes. Could be months, could be years, could be the whole lifetime of the mom slowly is integrating with the energy and frequency of the soul that they're meant to bring through. That's why a lot of parents know, like I knew in high school, I said, I'm going to have a son. My first son's name is going to be Jordan, and I knew he was coming. So I think that we were integrating when I was younger, when that thought even came into my mind. He was slowly starting to activate and integrate his frequency with mine so that I would be able to carry him. So that's why a lot of women have miscarriages too, because sometimes it takes a couple of rounds for our bodies to be able to withhold the integration of the frequencies together, because our bodies are riddled in low densities with pollutants and so many different things that in order to bring a high frequency being within our body to help it grow and evolve and transition throughout the gestation period and integrate more of the soul's essence within the fetus, it's a lot of work on the body. If the body isn't up for the task, it's really challenging to carry forward the pregnancy. And the more evolved these souls that are coming in, the harder it is for these women to carry these children to full term without complication. And the more that we are amplified with pollutants and things like that, that lower the density of our body, the harder it is for our bodies to integrate. So some of the things that we are targeted with is the actual process of birth. So kind of fast forwarding to the birth. Women are just traumatized through generation, ancestral trauma of birthing. So a lot of people a lot of women just fear the birth and just the process of birth in and of itself. There's a lot of fear surrounding the process of labor. And there's so many lies, so many misconceptions. Again, I have full videos on this. I won't go into detail. But if the woman is traumatized during the birthing process on heavily medicated, and the baby has a traumatic entrance, that etherical entrance, it can make it really challenging and also can cause the etherical virus, that imprint to activate even more, and therefore amplifying the potential for an etherical virus to actually manifest in the physical sense. Hopefully I'm making sense. So the birth matters, which is why every movie depicts birth in a traumatic way. They do everything they can to prevent babies from going through the actual birth portal, which is the birth, what we call the birth canal, because that is the actual physical birth portal. It's important for the baby to go through that for many reasons, but it is a portal. And as the baby goes through, a lot of activations occur between the mother and the baby. It's more detailed than that, but I'm being very vague. So there's a reason why we have such a high number of C-sections, especially unnecessary C-sections in this country specifically, which is crazy because we are a first world country. There's no reason that we should have such a high rate of cesareans, but they are trying to bypass that portal. So they take the baby out so they don't get to go through the birth canal, or the birth path is what we call it in hypnobirthing, because it's actually not that long. They say canal because they want women to think that the baby has to travel so far that in your mind it's so overwhelming to think that it causes more trauma. It's all the words that they use. So as soon as the baby's born, all the things that happen in the hospital, cold environment, lots of lighting, lots of people, lots of poking around, lots of movement. The mother doesn't have that bonding time like they would in indigenous cultures. Now the culture of that is changing a lot. But back when I taught hypnobirthing in 2014 through 2016 or something like that, it was still fairly new, and there was still a lot of the old school kind of mentality very present. Then when children are out of that in their home, then they get a million of these, and the schedule just keeps getting bigger and bigger and closer together. So there's a lot of toxins flooding the body. The immune system becomes overwhelmed. You guys heard me talk about the medication that starts with a T. That makes it more challenging for the body to fight off the heavy metals and the toxicity that's occurring when these are injected. So the body can't fight it because it's getting a medication for fever and pain, when in reality that medication is actually just amplifying the effects. Then we have just the air pollutants in general, the food, the air quality, the food we eat, the environmental toxins, the EMFs, just everything all around us all at once. It's just a bombardment of distortion, disruption, frequencies, black box technology, voice to skull technology, heavy metals, heavy everything. And it's all designed to suppress the body, close the pineal and the third eye, and disconnect these beautiful light beings from source and from their highest potential, and help them suppress them so they forget who they are and what they're here to do. School is another one. School was created so that we can be indoctrinated. They teach us what they want us to learn. We are taught to memorize, take tests, follow the leader. It teaches us to basically be a factory, work in factories, be a factory-like society with hierarchies and strict protocols and strict structures, so that when we come out of school, we are more likely to follow that tune and be productive, good members of society, conducive to what they want, instead of creating an environment for children to thrive through nature schools, using creative means, imagination, allowing them to find their passions. None of that that's not the design of at least the 3D traditional schooling system. So they are in prison style buildings with fluorescent lighting, with satellite technology, beaming negative affirmations that I have been told countless times from the children that I work with, their higher selves, but also children verbally will tell me that when they go into the schools, they don't feel well, their tummy starts to hurt, and they hear and think negative thoughts. I've heard that so many times now that we have to put some validity to that. So where else would these children be getting those ideas from, or those thoughts from? So it's not their own. So a lot of things are induced in this environment to program, suppress, and control us. So a lot of us are adults, and we have not learned conflict resolution. We have been programmed to take sides, to compete. In every way, our society is designed, and to just listen to what we're told and not to question, not to think outside of the box, not to do something different than everyone else. And those let's say those quantum 3D guardians that I spoke about, they will keep watch on all of us through a spiritual sense. So there are whole teams of remote viewers and things that you couldn't even imagine that keep tabs on everybody and what we're doing. And these school systems have gifted and talented programs. They have, again, I already did a video on this, but they will create lists of children with varying degrees of abilities. And I'm talking even those with behavioral issues, that are athletes, that are bullies, those are actually sought after for 20 and backs and super soldier programs. They like the strong athletic ones that are rebellious and have that kind of attitude, because they're easily programmable to use that anger towards what agenda that they need them for. Then they have those that are very attuned and smart and analytical and logical, and they know that those are the ones that are the engineers of the future, that have the capacity and potential to help the dark players, how I call them, create technology and things for their benefit to suppress us. So the things that they're already doing, but maybe more amplified, more evolved versions of that, and to keep the good technology from the public, from them having the potential of later on in life doing a job where they use that to create or invent something really powerful, really amazing that helps society. Then they have those that are attention deficit. They can't sit still, they can't focus. Well, they can use those people for their visionary, their multidimensionality capabilities, their creative side, their imaginative side, for remote viewing, for psychic testing, things like that. So everybody is valuable. Everybody is usable in a negative sense. It's like the negative way to look at this in a 3D sense, in a very raw way, is when an animal is butchered in let's say a cow, for example. Every aspect of that cow is used, down to every ounce of it is used for something, whether it's food, for humans or animals or whatever it may be, making clothes, leather, all of it. All of it's used in some capacity. So all humans are used in some capacity. We are all valuable to them in some degree. Of course, the ones that are the most valuable are the ones that are the in the box thinkers, the really good, polite, well-behaved ones, because those are the ones that keep society running in the way that they want, because we will do exactly what they say. We don't question, and we follow the leader, and we are in control, basically, in their control parameters. So how does the fourth dimension fit into all of this? The fourth dimension fits into all of this because if you can imagine the dimensions where dimensions sit right on top of each other, even in the same quantum space, we can be overlapping. It's all about frequency. So the third dimension is what we are in. The fourth dimension is where a lot of the etherical entities or the lower astral entities, which are part physical, part non-physical, but have the ability to be non-physical, but also have the ability to be physical. So they're kind of in this in-between space. They are connected to the fourth dimension. So a lot of the reptilian beings and a lot of the demons and a lot of the shadow beings and a lot of the trolls and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, are connected to the fourth and the third. But a lot of the non-physical, multidimensional, lower astral beings reside in the fourth dimension. A lot of the beings that animals and children see that we don't see are connected there. And then we have the fifth dimension, which you can only tune into that frequency if you are of the light and you have a high enough frequency that you are evolved in density of consciousness, but your form and all of these things work together in a process where we can raise our consciousness and raise our ability to be in a physicality that is in resonance with a higher dimension of the fourth. Because what that means is that if you're in the fifth, the fourth dimensional lower astral beings cannot reach a frequency to match the fifth. So they are not able to come into the fifth at all. So they're hovering in the fourth and below. We are in the third, and that's why we're talking about third to fifth. You hear this 3D to 5D talk a lot. So we're in the third, we're transitioning through the fourth. We kind of have to pass through the fourth. And that's simply just the healing, the activating, the awakening, the remembering of who you are and doing the work and tuning in to a higher frequency, so then you can bypass the fourth dimension and you can hover here in the fifth. And that's what the ascension to me really is about, anchoring us into the fifth. So this is the important part that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. We're just anchoring into the fifth, but then we're not staying there. Then once we are there, we have the capacity to be truly to be multidimensional and go even higher into higher dimensions, higher densities of consciousness. So we don't stop at the fifth. We're just trying to get ourselves back to where we once were, because I believe in the time of Lemuria, for example, we were in the fifth dimension. And then there were souls that were coming through in higher densities of consciousness from higher dimensions. And then sometime around Atlantis, they were also in the fifth. And for many reasons, which I don't have time to go into in this video, they were slowly suppressed and descended, and the patriarchy started to come, technology, extraterrestrial influence, so many things brought the frequency down, and it slowly started to drop. So where we are now and where we have been for thousands of years is anchored into the third. So now we are transitioning in many ways for many years. We're hovering now in between the third, fourth, and fifth. So now we're kind of, all of us are, so we do have the ability to bounce back and forth because we still have a lot of family and our life is still, connected to the 3D in many ways, but a lot of us are anchored into that fifth already. But now we have the ability to kind of bring ourselves to a lower frequency when we need to, whether when we go to our job or when we go out into the public, grocery store, and it's a mixed bag of frequencies, but then you're able to bring yourself back up. And there's lots of ways to tell where you were anchored. And I've done a lot of other videos, but it's really a state of mind. Yes, it's your health will showcase the frequency that you are in. The more healthy you are, in some respects, means your body is operating and integrating with this high frequency. That being said, a lot of us are having health struggles right now because of 3D toxic shock, meaning that the higher frequency we go and our bodies get connected and resonate with these higher frequencies when we eat the foods that we previously ate, or drink the polluted water, or water from water bottles that are polluted, and breathe the air, and we're bombarded with the frequencies, then it's like a shock to our system, because we've evolved out of that, and now we introduce that to our bodies, and then we have all sorts of symptoms. We can also have these ascension symptoms where we are just acutely aware of the 3D versus the 5D. So we have headaches, stomach aches, and all these activations and changes are occurring in our body. Again, it's a lot more complicated than that. I've already explained it many times, but that's not the purpose of this video. I want to go back to the fourth dimension and children and how this relates. So what I'm seeing right now through my sessions with children, which is why I'm bringing this up, the fourth dimension, think about it as a frequency wave. So it's this frequency wave. A lot of the children that are being born right now that are like what we would call starseeds, or the way showers, or light workers that are coming in from a higher dimension, other planets, even inner Earth, are coming in to bring in higher frequencies, already resonate at such a high frequency. And then they go through the etherical realm, through the birth portal, into the third dimension. And what happens is they are kind of like oscillating, between all of the layers. And so the fourth dimension right now seems to be acting as a barrier point. So if these children, through traumas or struggle, or for many reasons, are connecting more to the third dimension, then this fourth dimension seems to be sucking them in, and now they're tuned into that, and they can't oscillate anymore, and they're having a harder time connecting to their true frequency, because most of them are hovering above. Like a lot of the children that I'm seeing, because they're so advanced and because of where they come from, they are uncorruptible. They are distorters, they're disruptors. So no matter what they do, what food they eat, what they come into, what of these they get, it doesn't even matter. They are oscillating, they are resonating and aligned with a frequency above fourth dimension. There's nothing anyone can do about it. So I'm seeing that, a lot of that. I'm also seeing children that do have past lives in the 3D and are trying to heal. And those are the ones more anchored into the 3D and the 4D energy. But then I'm also seeing evolved, ascended souls coming through that are unexpectedly somehow getting sucked in to getting trapped into the fourth dimension. And so they are seeing a lot of those lower astral beings, entities, getting more psychically attacked, more dreamscape type of attacks, paralyzation during sleep time, afraid of the dark, things like that. So how are they doing this? There are a lot of things that they do, but I want to go through kind of the main things, and explain this a little bit better. How do they trap all of our children, regardless of their density of consciousness, regardless of where they come from, and us as well as adults? How did we get to the layer of programming we have experienced? So the first one is school. I've already talked about that. That's number one. Closed box thinkers, memorize. Those that memorize, follow the leader. Don't be creative, just regurgitate, memorize, regurgitate. So that's what the school environment is about. Not to mention, on top of that, the signals being sent through versions of voice to God technology, voice to school, whatever you want to call it, of negative affirmations, and the grids that they place over the schools, and the things that go on in the schools energetically and etherically. I've kind of talked about all of that already. Music is number two. So I've talked about this a lot in conferences. The way that we used to speak and most souls speak outside of this third dimension is through light language, a version of light language, whether that be singing, whether that be melodies, whether that be harmonies, whether that be some sort of tones, some version of light language. So it's a flow, it's a frequency. So a lot of times we can download information, like a whole story that I want to tell you. I can sing a melody to you and you receive that as a full download, right? But one of the ways that they control us is through breaking up our communication into words so that they can distort and disrupt the meaning of the word itself, and to more, negative affirmation, negative energy, and some being word spells that we already know about. So the music, the harmonies that they use in the past, they used to be so beautiful, but now rap music was created, and because instead of singing and having a beautiful harmony, 432 hertz, or something harmonious, it doesn't even matter the number. It made people feel good and it was healing. And the instruments that were used, whether it be a guitar or piano is actually the most healing instrument that I've been told we have. So then over time, they created different versions of music to distort and disrupt our field instead of harmonize it. So then they had rap music. So rap music is not a melody. It's not a beautiful harmonic tone. It's words quickly. And the reason they do that, have those words quickly recited or sang, or whatever you want to call it, with distorted music in the background, is that they have subliminal messaging, and it causes agitation in our field. So instead of harmonizing it, it agitates us. You can amplify that these days with the music celebrities and the symbolism and the actual messages. Back in the day, like the messages that we used to have in music was like positive for the most part, and today it's just a bunch of crap. There's nothing good about it. It's all narratives, all agendas that these children are listening to, distorted, disrupted, and with a lot of subliminal messaging to distort their field and to confuse them, to put them anchor them into lower frequencies. Then we have TV and movies, same thing. What is it that our children are watching? It's so much more hypersexualized and inappropriate today than it used to be 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It's progressively gotten even more intense. So there's programming involved in that, and manipulating what our children are hearing and seeing as what's normal. So if you see a sitcom or a show, they relate to those characters and think, oh, high school is supposed to be that way, or this is what marriage is supposed to look like. And if you're hearing divorce, divorce, and drugs at school all the time, then they think those things are normal. So another way of manipulating and programming our children. So we got school, we got music, TV, movies, and of course, all the symbolism with celebrities across movies and music, with satanic symbolism and all the things you already know. Then on top of that, we have social media. So some social media can be good and can also be very destructive. So our children are watching these videos that are, 30 seconds, less than a minute. So it's decreasing their attention span. And it actually, which is more disconcerting than that, the more that they have videos quickly like that with the revolutions, just like rap music, the more subliminal messaging they can input into those, because it's happening so fast that we don't catch it in our mind here, in our consciousness, but it's latching into our subconscious, so we have no idea. So these quick videos that might seem like an innocent makeup tutorial is actually sending subliminal lower astral attack entities are coming through, attaching to children, making them think things, influencing them in different ways. And let's not even talk about the content, which most of it is absolute crap. So they're dumbing them down, easily manipulating them, programming them in any way possible. The food and the water, and everything else in our environment. So these are the ways that they keep them anchored in the fourth dimension. And there are many more. I have a book where I talk about 3D interference and all the other things that are involved in that. I'm not saying them all, but these are the main ones. The point is, these are the way that they hook us, but really our children, because they are the future and they know how much more powerful each generation is, and that each generation that's coming through is than the previous. And so they are amping up their interference. So I'm seeing a lot more children having negative thoughts, suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, health concerns, OCD like tendencies. So I want to talk about that a little bit. So likely your child, if they're experiencing those things and really struggling, they are likely tuned in like a radio station to that fourth dimension, and they are seeing and tuning into what the players want them to tune into, which is not of their highest good, just to derail them, distract them, and to get them into a lower vibratory state, because that's where you can manipulate, program them. And then they believe those negative affirmations. I'm not good enough. My parents don't love me. All the negative affirmations that they recite and send out through satellite, these children can receive, and then they start to believe it. The thing about OCD, though, what I've noticed is OCD tendencies in adults and children is an attempt for them to control a reality or a world around them that cannot be controlled. So sometimes if a child is exhibiting signs of OCD, it's likely that they are attempting in their own way to control their reality, because it's so out of control. There's so many things that they can't control. There's so many things that overwhelm them, overstimulate them, that by them, doing certain things or controlling or being very neat or organized or having things a certain way or needing a routine, or having to sit in this exact seat or do this exact thing every day at this time, is them trying their best to maintain some level of control in a reality where they don't feel like they have a control in. So it's not necessarily always a bad thing, but it is a sign that, hey, I don't feel like I'm in control. A more severe case of this is, with regard to health, is I'm seeing, and I've seen this for a long time, constipation. So, and this happens more with boys than girls, but I have a lot of clients that are boys, young boys, anywhere from age 2 to 12, 13, mostly in between those ages, where they have dealt with chronic constipation there for a long time. And most of the time, what's come through for them in those cases is that they, or where that's their body's way of feeling, I don't feel safe, my environment is off, I'm very empathic, I'm pulling in all these emotions that aren't mine, and I'm going to hold on. That's the body's physical way of exerting control. OCD tendencies is your mind attempting to control the environment by doing certain things or not doing certain things, and the body's physiological way of exerting some sort of control is through holding onto the stool, for example. So that's something to think about if your child struggles with that. Irrational fears, seeing shadow beings, not being able to sleep by themselves, saying they hear things. When shadow beings come through portals and things, which I'm seeing a lot of tears in, dimensional tears as a result of them turning up the number 5 and the towers that we see outside. I have to be careful. It's creating this microwave amplified effect in our reality, and it's increasing sensitivity in animals, and children are definitely tuning into it and feeling it and are more sensitive to it. So it's causing irritability, lack of feeling lack of control. So there's a lot of interference going on, and it's keeping us locked into that fourth dimension. So many things are going on. Okay, I got to keep on track here. So let's talk about protection. So now that we kind of know and understand what I'm talking about, and again, adults and children and animals are all feeling the wrath of this fourth dimension, trying to remain like guardians, like not letting people bypass them, to keep control, maintain control of this grid. So some of the ways we can protect our children is, and if they're old enough to talk to them about this, but there are a lot of things we can do as parents to protect them on behalf of them if they're not open to it, or they just are too young to comprehend or put all this together. So the animal kingdom is one of the most powerful ways that you can help them. Shamans, when I used to do shamanic journeying back when I was being trained, we always joined the spirit of an animal to guide us. So we would never remote view, or we would never go on a journey without the guidance and protection of an animal, some sort of a totem, like an eagle or a wolf or something. So that's what I've been training a lot of children to do. When they feel like they're in an environment that's not in their control, it could be anywhere. Every time they leave the house, they can visualize themselves in two ways. One, merging with the spirit of the animal of their choice. Could be a lion, it could be a wolf, it could be a bear, it could be an eagle, it could be a dragon, whatever it is, and it can change day to day. That that their avatar, like it, as a they're very imaginative, so it's easy for them to do this. Visualize the outside world as a video game, and their avatar is that animal, but it's powerful and very protective and high frequency. So the astral world and the energetic world around them will perceive them in that way. So they look like that to other beings. And they're less likely to be messed with in that way. They're more powerful. They feel more powerful. If your child is too young to do that, then you can do that for them. Visualize them within the essence of an animal. You can buy them a stuffed animal version of their power animal so they can connect with it even more. This works for younger children. You can also tell them to call upon the animal to stand next to them, to guard them. So wherever they go in all dimensions, they are protected by that particular lion, dragon, whatever it may be. So call on the animal kingdom. The children identify with that the most out of anything I've ever done. Another way you can teach them to grid and protect themselves every time they leave the house. Teach them to use their own light. It's great to invoke the violet flame and do other things like that. Call upon your angels and things like that. Yes, that is powerful. But helping them activate their own light is the most powerful, in my opinion, that I've seen where they really relate to it the most. So have them visualize their life force essence as like a ball in their tummy. That could be a baseball size or a golf ball size, whatever. And then tell them to tune into it and close their eyes and visualize it in their solar plexus in their belly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so it's a basketball size. Next thing you know, it's out here like a inner tube, and then it's bigger and bigger and bigger until they are within their own energy field that they have now amplified and strengthened. And then I always tell them to make like points, like you can see here, like, so it's not smooth, it's jagged, and there's lots of these. This is not a good example, but there's like points and spikes and things like that. It's high vibrational, so it's not going to hurt your friends, but it will scare off and repel entities around because they don't want to come near that. They're like, well, I'd rather mess with the kid over there that has a weak energy field. But you have now amplified and stated that you are in this empowered state. And adults, again, do the same thing. You can also activate your Merkaba. I used to teach this a lot to children, but for some reason, I feel like lately they've been relating to the one I just mentioned, but they can, I have a bunch of them around here. I had a smaller one, but they, this is an example of one. So have them visualize a Merkaba inside their body and then expanding out until they are basically these two upside down pyramids, triangles that are spinning. And the more they spin, the more powerful they become. It's a little bit more complicated. And I have a video on my channel that I did about creating Merkaba. So refer to that one because it's more complicated than that. But having them activate their Merkaba or wear a necklace. I used to have one for my children where they would wear a little small Merkaba necklace. They used to sleep with one version like this, all of them in their rooms at night. Oh, here's the small one, like something like this, in their room next to their nightstand. When they sleep, tell them to call on the animal kingdom as a whole to protect them and visualize them going into a kind of a cocoon, like a mystical forest, and they put their body inside this cocoon that zips up, kind of like a sleeping bag, and they just are encased in this grid of protection that they've created for themselves, so they are not visible to the astral realm. So when they're sleeping, they're not vulnerable to any sort of attack because they have zipped their light up, and instead of being amplified and jagged, they have made themselves invisible. So their intention is, I'm making myself invisible. I cannot be seen, and then call upon the animal kingdom to guard over that cocoon in any way that they can, their mind can create and protect over them, guard over them, like it's a sacred temple. Anything that you can do to help them elevate their mind, body, and spirit. So be careful what they're watching, what they're listening to. I know that's hard to do these days because the music is everywhere. The shows are on all platforms. So it's all about balance, in my opinion. My children listen to rap music. It's almost impossible not to let them have access to it. So I teach my children to say, I do not consent. They do that actually a lot. And I try to encourage them to do creative activities to stimulate their mind so that their mind is sharp and they can't be hijacked. So any creative means, art, singing, crafts, reading, creative writing. If they're brainiacs, be in a club, robotics, using your mind, creating things with Legos, things like that, so that they are sharp, they are in tune. And then most important, put the intention out there that I do not consent to the connection of being within any timeline or any frequency that is not of my highest good, and teach them that affirmation to say every day, I am only and in complete alignment with the timeline and the frequency that is in resonance with my highest good only. And then have them visualize themselves like a cloud or whatever visual comes, floating above the fourth dimension. Think about it as just cloudy, rainy day, and then you go above the clouds and it's sunny. Visualize them on a cloud and have them visualize just floating above, or whatever way they can connect. They are like an eagle and they're flying above, bird's eye view. And this again is for adults as well to use these techniques. Anything that you can do intention wise that you are not consenting to connecting to any frequency that's not of your highest good. And you just say with gratitude every day, I'm so grateful to be connected to the highest possible timeline, the highest possible frequency that's in complete alignment with my highest good only. I do not consent to any fragments, fractals, essence of myself in any other timelines to be used to siphon my energy or in any way that I'm not consenting of. And you can play with the words, but my recommendation is to keep it simple so that it's a quick statement every day, but there's bigger meaning behind the intention. So you couple the intention with the vision and the words. Bada bing, there you go. You have created your own protective grid affirmation and in your in continuous alignment with the fifth dimension and higher. Do this for yourself. You can do this for your children. Wow, this was a lot longer than I was expecting, and there's so much more I can say, but I don't like to make these videos too long because people get bored and they start to tune out. So I hope that what I've said is valuable and it makes sense. Please leave comments, let me know if this is helpful, what I forgot to say, what you can contribute, and how we can help each other tune out of the fourth dimension. We're not out of it, it still exists, but what we can do is just not anchor to it and just not consent to being tuned in to that frequency, to those astral beings. They do not have any power over us. Our mind is tuned into the highest possible frequency that's in alignment with our highest good. And so it is, and for our children as well. And I think that this can help us dismantle, disrupt, and distort the negative grid frequencies that they are trying so desperately to cast upon us right now, to disconnect or distort us from our potential. So we can combat that, not with fighting, but just saying, like, I don't consent and I refuse, and just will yourself through power out and up and above it, rise above it. And that's how we win. That's how we win this game. We just stop playing. We say, you know what? I'm done with this game. I'm playing my own game, and create another reality that is of a higher frequency. And you go from there. So hopefully this really long-winded video has made sense to you. I hope this video has found all of you well. Until next time, I'll see you guys very soon. Take care.